1173 of the Lunchroom. I'm your host, Calix George Jr. Now, in addition to radio, 101.1 FM, you can also get us at our website, which is rcistlucia.com. That's rcistlucia.com. You can download our previous shows as well on that platform. And you can follow us live. We're streaming on Facebook. Just search for the official page of Radio Caribbean International. And please be sure to like and share that as well with your friends and family so that they can follow wherever they may be. Now, if you want to add your voice to the mix, give us some food for thought, tell us what's on your plate today, the number to do so is 452-3046. Again, 452-3046. You also have that option of calling in via WhatsApp. That is 724-0008. That's the number. And you can also message in via that WhatsApp number. Again, 724-0008. A bit of history for the day. Back on this day in the year 1660, the English Parliament proclaimed that Charles II as King of England and invited him to return to serve. And of course, this was after the period of the Commonwealth under Mr. Cromwell. In the year 1835, the first installment of Hans Christian Andersen's Fairy Tales was published in Copenhagen in Denmark. 1895 saw China ceding Taiwan to Japan under the Treaty of Shimonoseki. 1902 on this day, May the 8th, saw Mount Pelée on the French overseas territory island of Martinique, our neighboring island of Martinique, erupting, wiping out the city of Saint-Pierre and killing over 30,000, leaving only 2 survivors. Very famously, one of those was in fact somebody imprisoned in a cachot. In the year 1945 on this day saw VE Day, Victory in Europe Day, and World War II ended in Europe after Germany signed an unconditional surrender. 1980 on this day, the World Health Organization, WHO, announced that smallpox had been eradicated. And in the year 2007, on this day, May the 8th, a new Northern Ireland executive was formed with Ian Paisley of the Democratic Unionist Party, the DUP, as First Minister, and Martin McGuinness of the Sinn Féin as Deputy First Minister. Some birthday greetings for today going out to Mr. Danny Butcher. Happy birthday to you, sir, and we do hope that you're having a fantastic birthday celebration. And we also want to send birthday greetings out to Mr. Donovan Foster. Happy birthday as well to you. And we do hope that you're having a splendid birthday as well. We now move on to our dish of the day. The daily dish is brought with the kind compliments of our good friends at Tiles Plus.
One tiles for your home, I see. Bathroom, kitchen, pantry. Need tiles for your balcony. Come down to Tiles Plus, satisfaction guarantee. Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus. Big tiles with unbeatable cost. Customer service, A+. Did all kind of tiles. Come down to Tiles Plus. We also got glassware and vanity. Books, doors, you'll see. Come down to my nobody. We got the best tiles on island. Trust me. We are located Lance Road in Castries. Bosses, Grocery Lane, Black Street in Beaufort. Telephone number 453-7939. Tiles Plus.
Serving now, the Daily Dish.
And welcome back to our program here at the Lunchroom at Radio Caribbean International. And of course, you may be taking in a bit of the jazz here in St. Lucia. I think there's actually a jazz on the square that's happening. Yes, that's back. And there are a lot of events which have been mainstay over the years, and of course we went through this entire period of a hiatus from jazz, and many of these events are only now sort of coming back and trying to get their legs or get their roots back into the ground, and certainly Jazz on the Square was one of those staple free shows for the St. Lucia Jazz and Arts Festival. And really important because festivals really have to be about people. They have to be about the mood of the people. There has to be a vibe, as you would say. Everybody needs to be able to feel it, and it certainly cannot be only those who might be able to afford those jazz tickets and what have you. And so within any festival, it is important that there must be a component or components which everybody can enjoy and take in and get a sense and sample what is going on. Last night was one of those events, in fact, and kudos to the organizers, the individuals who have been putting on Moshi Music Creole. And that, in fact, was something that started some time back, I think, during the period when Emma Hippolyte, the Honorable Emma Hippolyte, was the MP for Grosley, and the idea of how to impact the community of Moshi, which, although part of Grosley, and which is in fact where the St. Lucia Jazz and Arts Festival was being hosted, primarily at Pigeon Island and with events going on in Rodney Bay, many a person in Moshi may not have necessarily felt that impact. And so I know she was certainly very instrumental in working with individuals from the community to be able to put on this production. And it has certainly become a staple of the St. Lucia Jazz and Arts Festival as well, and bringing economic activity, bringing a certain level of vibes to this community of Moshi, which sometimes is more in part of the more rural part of Grosley, still certainly has a very important role in terms of the number of those communities that surround it, like La Rivière-Mita and Ravine Macoc and Diramo and La Bonne and many Monsitor. A lot of those communities that find themselves in the Dauphin part of Grosley. And so that, of course, has brought that aspect of our culture and tourism to that region. And the beauty of it is that it is and has remained a free show. And in fact, interestingly enough, perhaps MP Emma Hippolyte may not want to hear this, but I did notice somebody saying that in as much as I've heard, and again, you get these anecdotes that there were more people in Soufrière Jazz or at Soufrière Jazz than at the Mindou Phillip Park for the opening of jazz. I don't know if that's true or not, but this is what some of the things that people have been saying. And of course, we've been hearing lots of praises about the event at Soufrière over the weekend, that it was the best ever, and lots of nice cultural additions, even down to having a games area, a children's area, and having traditional games being played there. So there were a number of very interesting, nice little touches and innovations at Soufrière Jazz. And then I heard somebody say, oh, there were more people at Moshi than at Soufrière Jazz. So it's very interesting how, as the event continues to roll through the week, that we're hearing more and more about, one event seems to be topping the other. But of course, one can perhaps understand that Moshi being a free show, a free event, and the thematic aspect of it is really that of Creole music. So whether it's or folk music, kadas and zouk, and so there was certainly solo and representation from our sister islands as well, from Martinique, all being on showcase at the community of Moshi. And so again, like I said, kudos to the many individuals who have been making it happen, for the past couple of years, and still ensuring that it is a free show. And of course, the sponsors have been no doubt very important in being able to achieve that. But like I mentioned, another free show this today in terms of the Jazz on the Square component. And so it is also very important in terms of the city of Castries and ensuring that they, as the capital, as the epicenter of commerce and in St. Lucia, that is not lost. And so that event certainly very, very important, and we do hope that it does very well. But moving off from jazz, we did touch on it a little bit yesterday, and that, of course, is the matter of the situation that has been unraveling in some form or fashion with respect to one of the most important financial institutions in the Caribbean. Now, we, of course, in the Caribbean have had a history, a continuous history of trying to deepen integration, recognizing, of course, the great similarities that we have amongst these various territories and islands and countries, and the need to pull together, and especially as small states, that has certainly been very important for our development. And so, of course, a number of institutions have been created over the years. Of course, we can think of West Indies cricket, with ICC Cricket World Cup coming up very shortly here in St. Lucia in the Caribbean. But one of the oldest ones, but certainly others in the fields of education, whether it's the University of the West Indies, whether it's the Caribbean Examinations Council, CXC. We've done likewise in areas of economic and productive sector pursuits like the CARDI, the Caribbean Agricultural Research and Development Institute. More recently, we've looked at creating institutions that deal with the whole issue of climate change. And so things like the 5 Cs, the Caribbean Community Climate Change Center over in Belize, and many others which have been around even longer than that, the Caribbean Meteorological Institute, or the many, CARFA, for instance. And in the case of our finances, one of the really important ones has been the Caribbean Development Bank. We have not been able to agree on a unified central bank, and so we still see most islands having their own currencies and their own central bank operations, from Jamaica to Trinidad to Barbados, and of course here in the Eastern Caribbean we share a central bank. But in terms of development banking, in terms of development finance and how we can grow as a region, the Caribbean Development Bank certainly has been and is continuing to become even more important in terms of that charge towards finding the resources to be able to develop our region and shift it from still being this situation where we are developing countries to hopefully becoming more stable, more developed. That has meant that a number of donor countries have come on board with respect to the direction of the bank, and also play a role in that regard. And so instead of perhaps giving bilateral aid or bilateral financing country to country, many of these developed world countries have decided to work through financial institutions like the Caribbean Development Bank so that they can, in fact, use the bank's presence and institutional capacity to be able to manage and oversee a lot of this lending. Now, in fact, as we well appreciate, the bank was in fact originally headed by a St. Lucian, none other than Sir William Arthur Lewis, as the first president of the Caribbean Development Bank many a decade back. And then now we've more recently had seen the presence of another St. Lucian who was heading that organization in the person of Mr. Hyginus Leo. And Dr. Leo, of course, came with a wealth of experience, particularly through the International Monetary Fund and the number of years that he worked at that institution in very high up capacities as IMF leads in a number of different countries, both here in the Caribbean, but as well in Africa and many other countries around the world. And he certainly would have been very, very well placed to have the confidence of the leadership of the bank, who in fact elected him as the bank's president. But of course, of late we have seen this debacle regarding Dr. Leo and his tenure at the Caribbean Development Bank. To the point, of course, recently he in fact indicated, after we heard that he was under investigation, that his certain aspects of his belongings related to the bank's work were seized, and he was on administrative leave. And we've been seeing how there has been a certain air of mystery as to how things were proceeding. Questions were being asked by Caribbean leaders, and in some fashion, they were actually being told that they really didn't have a say in the matter, even though, of course, the heads, in fact, do make up the highest decision-making body of the institution, the Board of Governors. And so what has now happened is that there's been, in fact, a letter in circulation since this entire matter has come to a head, where Dr. Lea has indicated that he intends to resign and wants the matter to be amicably settled. The Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, in fact, about 6 days ago, wrote to the chairman of the Board of Governors, as well as members of the Board of Governors of the Caribbean Development Bank, headquartered in Barbados. And it was entitled CDB and its President. And hopefully within the next couple, it's a fairly long letter. It's about 5 pages, and I'm not sure how we can get through it. But let's just see if we can, in fact, get through it before we have to head to taking a break. But it reads as follows. Introduction to the issue. I have hitherto refrained from any commentary, save in private, on the contretemps between the institutional governorship and leadership of the Caribbean Development Bank, CDB, the premier repository of development finance in our region, and its former president, Mr. Hyginus Jean Leo, a distinguished son of our Caribbean civilization from St. Lucia. Duty, the evolved circumstances, an unswerving commitment to the maintenance of the CDB's integrity, and an abiding concern for our region's further ennoblement compel that I now speak in print. Indeed, when the news first broke of the dissonance between the bank's hidden hands and its president, I was in Africa. I was immediately possessed of a profound disquiet and a troubling sense that this was unlikely to end well for both the president and the bank. Wisdom and experience instinctively commended in me a patience and calm, knowing that sun brightens stone even as the greener leaves explode and all the rivers burn. Accordingly, I offered no opinion or judgment on whether the bank's institutional mechanisms were mobilized correctly in a juridical sense upon the receipt by them of a complaint or complaints from one or more unidentified whistleblowers. I harbored no suspicion that the swift reference under the rules of the bank to a selected investigating firm was effected by other than an unsullied motivation for the good of the bank and its president. I entertained no thought that the reception of the whistleblowers' complaints and the inexorable reference to an investigating process was infused with malice, ill will, or other jaundiced vice. Certainly, I saw no dark arts of a metaphoric Brutus in any conspiracy to slay Caesar. I was, however, uneasy about the speed and peremptory manner upon which the entire expedition was launched, inclusive of the seizure or detention of the president's electronic devices and his dispatch on administrative leave with a dazzling promptitude by a body of 3 persons, all accompanied under the rules. I reflected that in more sophisticated societies with an informal tapestry of civilized engagements, perhaps without prejudice conversation with wise elders would have been useful. I am aware that the standard, even self-serving response to this sanguine reflection is that in a bank the strict rules must be followed without more. Once a whistleblower's complaint is lodged, whatever its nature, origin, or merits prima facie, an inevitable process to tar and feather, metaphorically, must be initiated and pursued with the zeal of a proverbial inquisition of old. Shakespeare, in his insightful dialogues between Shylock, Antonio, and the jurist Portia in Merchant of Venice, reminds of the consequences of this legal strictness without wisdom, maturity, and judgment. Engagement sought by the OECS. During my absence from the region at the critical relevant time, the leadership of the most tightly drawn integration mechanism in the Caribbean, the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, OECS, an entity which admittedly has no formal locus standi within the bank, but its member states are borrowing members of the bank, sought to prod the bank's governorship in the direction of sense and sensibility on the matter at hand. Rather than responding directly with a deserving respect and prudence to the chairman of the OECS, the distinguished Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, Dr. the Honorable Terence Drew, the Canadian chairman pro tempore of the bank's governors, Canada is a worthy non-borrowing member of the bank, parceled out this responsibility to an American law firm acting on behalf of the bank. The law firm's haughty, nay rude response, lacking in elemental civility or good manners, brought the metaphoric shutters down on civilized discourse in respect of Prime Minister Drew's legitimate concerns. The doubtful conduct of the Canadian chairman pro tempore and the disdainful riposte of the American law firm manufactured a foul stench which is yet to be dissipated. At least one editorial writer in a prestigious daily newspaper published in Jamaica has already rightly etched in its public record its disapprobation of the stances of the Canadian chairman pro tempore and the American law firm. This editor's opinion, I am sure, represents the mature and considered view of the overwhelming majority of right-thinking people across the Caribbean. The cooking of the president's goose. The swiftness of the bank's actions, inclusive of the prompt dispatch of the president on administrative leave, the dismissive nonchalance of Prime Minister Drew's queries by the Canadian chairman pro tempore and the American law firm's contemptuous relay of the chairman's instructions, all conspired to create the public perception that the bank's president had committed egregious wrongs, that the informed inner circle was seized of more than a hint of the existence of some salacious smoking gun, or other grievous ammunition weighty enough to torpedo the president once and for all. There was, in some quarters, a thinly guised, even though subdued, glee of the president's demise amidst a sanctimonious murmur of prophecy. Quote, "Let justice roll down as waters and righteousness like a mighty stream." In short, the whispered expectation by many was that on the basis of the whistleblower's complaints, known only to a few, the president's goose was well and truly cooked. The investigators' report arrives. The day before the investigators' report was to be submitted and considered by the bank's board of governors, the bank's president tendered his resignation. His lawyers publicly reaffirmed his claim of constructive dismissal and put down his marker in quest of judicial redress before the High Court of Barbados or other tribunal of law. Finally, the investigators' report is available to those entitled to it as of right. I have read it carefully. Its contents are threadbare and underwhelming. The report seeks to weave tattered threads into a twisted fabric upon which to ground a narration to justify the bank's actions. But it has failed. And all persons of reasonableness, judicious temper, and balanced judgment would so conclude. On the central salacious allegation, which excited the prurient at home and abroad, there was absolutely no evidence. The story makes amusing reading, if the matter of the bank's president's peremptory removal from office was not so serious. This allegation and the imputations connected thereto probably had its origin in a mind suffused by a starched Anglicanism or an obsessive evangelical purity laced with hypocrisy and misogyny. I shall return to the undertones of misogyny in the investigator's report. The investigator's report has bits and pieces of a president who was allegedly traveling too much globally, and in his regional trips hither and thither, his preferred mode of air transport purportedly was the comparatively more expensive charter on Executive Air, a small privately owned airline registered in Barbados. Part of the report's challenge here is its failure to do a cost-benefit analysis of the president's international travels. Its lack of any sufficient appraisal of context regionally, and unavailability of or severe shortage of commercial airlines after the closure of LIAT, for example, and its laughable comparisons to the president's travels and those of his predecessor in office, who was winding down his tenure during the time of COVID. Further, the investigator did not appear to realize that flying Executive Air was not actually a jet aircraft, but a cramped turboprop airplane, surely not a luxury air machine. A reasonable Caribbean reader of the investigator's report may be unable to resist disturbing thoughts. Do these people consider Jean Leo to be an uppity St. Lucian who deserved not to be flying here and there in doing the bank's work? If he were a Canadian, American, British, or European, would they not perhaps conclude that his travel, international and regional, was necessary and desirable? Some thoughts, reasonably, may be even more extreme than these. This goes on, and of course, it's a few more pages, but we, in fact, are due to take in our weather report. So we'll put a pause on this at this time and conclude our dish of the day.
This has been The Daily Dish.
One tiles for your room, I see. Bathroom, kitchen, pantry. Need tiles for your balcony. Come down to Tiles Plus, satisfaction guarantee. Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus. Big tiles with unbeatable cost. Customer service, A plus. Did all kind of tiles. Come down to Tiles Plus. We also got glassware and vanity. Books, doors, you'll see. Come down to my nobody. We got the best tiles on island. Trust me. We are located Lance Road in Castries. Bosses, you Grizzly. Black Street in Dufort. Telephone number 453-7939.
Island style, yeah. We got the time to make you go. We got the time to make you say, yeah. We'll have to make the right choice. Island style, whoa. We got the time that will make you happy. Island style, oh yeah. We make your dream come alive in Island style.
We have tiles and thin sets, mixers and grout. Everything you need to sort the house out. For the best price and the latest style. Take a little drive down to Island Style Car.
We got the time to make you go. We got the time to make you say, quality, price, service, choice. It's all an Island Style.
Visit us at our showrooms in Belarus, Rodney Bay, on the John Compton Highway, Castries, and behind Ruby's Gas Station on the Library Viewfort Highway. Or call us on 450-452 or 453-TILE. Island Style, Tile and Bath. When you think tile, think Island Style.
This is Radio Caribbean International. It's now time for the weather news.
And as of course, the World Football is now time for your weather report as of 12 noon today, presented by Island Style, Tile and Bath. The forecast for St. Lucia Valley for the next 24 hours. The winds will be blowing from between the east and east-southeast near 17 miles per hour or 28 kilometers per hour. The weather fair to partly cloudy and hazy with possibly isolated light showers. There is an advisory in here which reads that persons with respiratory ailments and dust allergies are advised to take the necessary precautions due to reduced air quality. Also, small craft operators are advised to exercise caution due to reduced visibility. The forecast for the Lesser Antilles, partly cloudy to cloudy and hazy with light and moderate showers over the Leeward and Northern Windward Islands. Further south, fair to partly cloudy and hazy with a few brief showers. The weather summary: light and moderate easterly to southeasterly winds and hazy conditions will prevail across the Lesser Antilles during the next few days. Unstable conditions associated with a shellline and upper level jet stream will cause cloudiness and scattered showers over the northern portion of the region during the next 24 hours. And this was your weather report as of 12 noon today, presented by Island Style, Tile and Bath.
This has been RCI's Weather News. For more information, call the Weather Hotline at 454-3452. RCI 101 number 1.
Island style, yeah. We got the time to make you go. We got the time to make you say, yeah. We'll have to make the right choice. Island style, whoa. We got the time that will make you happy. Island style, oh yeah. We make your dream come alive in Island style.
We have tiles and thin sets, mixers and grout. Everything you need to sort the house out. For the best price and the latest style. Take a little drive down to Island Style Car.
We got the time to make you go. We got the time to make you say, quality, price, service, choice. It's all an Island Style.
Visit us at our showrooms in Belarus, Rodney Bay, on the John Compton Highway, Castries, and behind Ruby's Gas Station on the Library Viewfort Highway. Or call us on 450-452 or 453-TILE. Island Style, Tile and Bath. When you think tile, think Island Style.
And welcome back to the lunchroom here at Radio Caribbean International. And of course, we've been following the particular letter which has been written by the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Honorable Ralph Gonsalves. Let's take in a call at this time before we continue with that. Good afternoon. Welcome to the lunchroom. And what's on your plate today? Hi, good afternoon, caller. No, caller, you've just called into the lunchroom on Radio Caribbean International. Okay, take care. It's a bad time to be getting the wrong number. Again, the number is 452-3046. Again, 452-3046. And of course, very interesting matter as it continues to pan out with respect to this issue. And of course, as indicated in that letter, there were attempts made by the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States chair, that of St. Kitts and Nevis Prime Minister, Dr. Terence Drew, and he got quite a rather curt letter sent to him in response to what was a matter of trying to get some clarity in this entire debacle between the Caribbean Development Bank and the its president up until recently, Dr. Jean Leon. Now, it does go on, and if we have the chance, I suppose we could continue to get into that beyond the issue of travel. So then he then goes on into a title of another matter. I'm just trying to get my bearings as to see where we in fact ended lastly. So it says, the investigator reported on a bundle of vague, inchoate, and untested charges by this or that disgruntled employee about the president's reproach of them on their lack of quality performance. From this emerged the allegation that the president created a toxic work environment. Surely this is a scraping of the bottom of the barrel, absurdly. Misogyny at play. I return now to the underlay of misogyny in the investigator's report. This revolves around the allegation of the president's closeness to a senior female official at the bank upon whom he relied in preference to other senior officials. There is no evidence that this professional woman is not qualified to hold the job with which she was entrusted. Indeed, no one provided any credible allegation of her lack of training, capacity, or devotion to duty. There was no evidence, too, of any improper relationship between the president and the professional woman. Yet, the investigator's report managed to paint a picture of a veritable feminine Rasputin manipulating a weak and compliant czar in the person of Jean Leon. It is dangerous misogyny in the 21st century Caribbean and ought to be rejected unequivocally. Flimsy nature of evidence. The flimsy nature of the evidence presented in the investigator's report and the concocted narrative of malfeasance or wrongdoing, lack of persuasiveness, there is nothing compelling here. Indeed, the evidence taken at its highest leaves a reasonable and fair-minded reader, reader, whether in the councils of the bank or in the taverns across any Caribbean country, with the inescapable conclusion that the president was, from the outset, the victim of a stitch-up job. There is nothing in the investigator's report to impugn credibly the integrity, transparency, competence, and quality of the president's leadership and performance. He ought never to have been sent on administrative leave, much less treated in a manner as if he were an itinerant casual worker accused of pilfering in his master's precious china. To be sure, it is possible to aver that the president ought to have acted with a touch more sensitivity here and there, and he was probably innocent of the eggshell facade or make-believe sacrosancts of some pampered souls in the bank's bureaucracy. But none of this credibly advances any case against him. A presidency of change for the better. In all the reportage, the investigator accorded no recognition to the fact that the shareholders of the bank, especially the borrowing member states from the Caribbean, elected hygienist Jean Leo as president to chart an amended course for the bank. His mandate, among other things, was to be a leader of and for change for the better in the altered circumstances of the contemporary Caribbean and the global political economy. The president was committed to effecting meaningful change to uplift the lives, living and production of the people of his constituencies in the Caribbean. He is now being pilloried for his insistence in getting the job done and in the shortest possible time. Next steps. Haunting questions arise and remain about the awful treatment meted out to the president. The very vaunted processes of the bank need review and reform in these whistleblower cases. This large strategic exercise ought to be done. More immediately, however, what are the next steps in addressing this debacle in the bank surrounding the former president? It certainly does not suit the bank to have its folly forensically examined in excruciating detail in the robust legal system in Barbados or elsewhere. I do not have to read and spell for the governors of the bank. The former president, Mr. Leo, has been injured and he has suffered loss and damage. Certain things flow inexorably from all this. The bank ought to address this with the same urgency with which it acted and at the start of this awful saga. And the bank ought to act with a large generosity of spirit. For me, Jean Leo's integrity remains intact, though unsuccessful attempts were made to have it impugned. He comes out of this sordid matter without blemish or wrongdoing attached to him. This distinguished son of our Caribbean civilization ought not to be lynched metaphorically any further. A loose end and commitment. One loose end needs to be tied up. The people of the region may rightly demand to know why an American firm and not one of inestimable value from the Caribbean was chosen to conduct the investigation of Jean Leo. And what is the paternity and history of this firm? I am sure that the people of our region may wish to know, too, how much has the bank paid for the investigation of and report on Jean Leo. Finally, I reaffirm that the government and people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines remain fully committed to the Caribbean Development Bank, its ideals, its role and function in assisting and re-engineering and uplifting of our Caribbean in every material particular. This bank, founded some 54 years ago, almost nearly coincides with the years of my political activism. I treasure this institution. It possesses immense meaning and resonance for me and all our people. Further, as a Prime Minister for the last 23 years continuously thus far, I have an especial obligation not to stand by and watch this splendid institution led by 6 presidents, including titans such as Sir Arthur Lewis and William Demas, be further embroiled in this nasty business. Let us bring it all to an end honorably. Thus, this letter to you, all the best to you, your family, and the bank. And as I mentioned, of course, this was penned by Dr. the Honorable Ralph Gonsalves, Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and was also copied to the heads of state and government, heads of government as well of the Caribbean community, the acting president of the Caribbean Development Bank, the Secretary General of CARICOM, and the Director General of the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States. Indeed, certainly quite a very interesting letter that gives a lot of insight, more insight than has been provided thus far, I suppose you could say, from the bank itself, the Caribbean Development Bank, on this entire matter. And so we will certainly have to see how it continues to pan out. It, of course, raises lots of questions about corporate governance and, of course, many institutions around the world looking to see how they can become more accountable and transparent, and to show as well how they can create redress mechanisms within the organization. It's very important, of course, to fight against corruption, and one of those very popular anti-corruption measures is to ensure that there is some sort of whistleblower mechanism in place in an organization, so that in effect, if there is something that is amiss, if there is some belief that there is fraud, or there is some sort of activity that goes against the values and principles of an institution, individuals have a means to confidentially make that known to the organization, and that can be then brought forward. Now, as to that nature of it, of course, these are very important, and even how well these systems are designed and are effected, they have to be reviewed too. So it certainly cannot be a situation where you're simply just importing a system, bringing it forward in this regard. It has to certainly be tested. It has to certainly be understood in terms of how those how matters will be dealt with, and that should be well understood and known to stakeholders, because stakeholders themselves could potentially also be whistleblowers within any setting. They may interact with individuals from an institution, and they too have a right to know what is available. So it certainly should not just be about the staff on the inside, of course, who are very, very important in terms of the overall aspect of whistleblowing, but how those matters are dealt with is very important. Quite often, in the case of institutions that put in place whistleblower infrastructure, it means that there's usually some means to there's some entity that would be able to be independent third party away from everybody, who can be contacted in the case of something going on, and then that triggers a process. Now, as to how many times this has happened in the case of the Caribbean Development Bank and how they've used their whistleblower policies in the past, I don't know, because those matters, it's interesting though, because it's meant to increase transparency, it's meant to increase accountability, but sometimes these policies are opaque in and of themselves, and that then is part of the problem. So if there is a clear whistleblower policy, that should be understood by everybody, in and out, as to what the process is, as to how that is actually managed. And that's a really important thing for all institutions, no doubt, watching this. Because today it's the Caribbean Development Bank, but there are many other institutions that may have similar arrangements that have been put in place. And it's a lesson, no doubt, to see where some of the potential pitfalls in how those matters are dealt with. What we do certainly know, though, is that unfortunately, the damage is already done. And we're already seeing how this has had potentially an impact in terms of the image of the organization, as to whether people think the organization is stronger for it. It does not quite seem that way at the moment. And so a lot of the issue and the doubt and the is really leading overall to a situation where people may have less confidence in that organization. So it is very important that these institutions are seen to be accountable. And so even things like, as we rightfully pointed out, the issues of one of them that was being raised was travel, for example. Institutions that are of that nature, we find quite often these regional institutions, I'm not sure how much transparency necessarily exists, who they are accountable to. They tend to be accountable, of course, to the respective prime ministers and the respective governments of these countries. But to the ordinary person, we know even far less about them, unfortunately, than we know about our governments, which we, of course, already have issues with respect to that of accountability with. So it is definitely perhaps a wake-up call in terms of our institutions, and to see how they can, in fact, have a much stronger sense of responsibility and sense of accountability and transparency to individuals, to everybody, so that people can then have a good sense as to what's actually going on with many of these institutions. Now, of course, there will be some who will tell you that you've got to be very careful too as well, because you are dealing with, in some instances, banks, but these are development banks. These are banks that are about the business of the people, really. And so there should certainly be this willingness to have a greater sense of redress. Quite often in the Caribbean, the average person does not feel like they have very much redress on some of these actions that are being taken. We can find, for instance, in the banking sector, bank apparently seems that they can change policies on how they do business, and they may just send out something and we'll add a fee here, or we'll change our times of operation, or we'll do certain things, and the customer, the general public, seems to be somewhat powerless against it. So it certainly does mean that in terms of oversight, governments as well need to insist, and people need to insist, that there is, in fact, greater transparency in the workings of all of these institutions, whether it's at a local level or even at a regional level as well. Because at the end of the day, it's going to impact us in some form or fashion, and the resources that quite often are coming from these very same states. And so it is very important that we are comfortable with what is being done in our name and in our interest. Well, we will be back again tomorrow for another program of the Lunchroom, but we're actually all out of time at this point in time, so we do hope that you can have a wonderful rest of your day. And of course, to those who are heading out to enjoy Kingdom Night, we do hope that you have a great time.
future of communication is here. Say hello to eSIM at Digicel. Use your Digicel number without a physical SIM card in your phone, and your data, minutes, and SMS all there. eSIM works with prepaid and postpaid. Activate more than one eSIM on the same device and use multiple phone numbers without a physical SIM card. Convert your existing number for only $10. Switch to Digicel and get a free eSIM, free 30-day plan, and 30 gigabytes data free. Digicel, first to give you eSIM technology in St. Lucia. Available at any Digicel store. Digicel, better connected.
TOT Soccer Village and the Carnival Music Management Committee present a Whitsuntide Spectacular Calypso Show at the NCC Sunday, May 19th from 8 p.m. featuring a star-studded cast of newcomers, veterans, and monarchs, including Mika, Black Pearl, Chikaro, Rohan, Cheryl, Brenda, Empress Unia, The Black Invader, and returning to the Calypso stage, Cupid, backed up by the exciting band Big People Business with Brass. Admission is $25. TOT Soccer Village opening night, Sunday, May 19th, 8 p.m. at the NCC. This event is made possible by Blue Waters, Nissan, Pierre Marcel Wine, Creative Arts Management Production, Total Auto, and Mission Electrical. TOT Soccer Village, we lead, they follow. This event is licensed by ECHO. No unauthorized vendors will be allowed.
Sing with me right now. Bring back the love of Calypso.
It's that simple. Call 452-3046 to give us your mom's name and a contact number to partake in our Make My Mom a Winner Mother's Day promotion. It's that simple.
Thank you, Mama, for the 9 months you carried me through.
Your mom will be included in the grand draw to win fantastic prizes. The draw will be held on Thursday, May 9th in time for Mother's Day. Remember, call 452-3046 to register your mom to win. But you must listen carefully, as your favorite announcer will indicate when to make that call. RCI, the station that gives your mom more.
So amazing how this world was made. I wonder if God is a woman.
A company that you can trust withstood the test of time, providing the best quality so you can have peace of mind, building the community one day at a time. In the products that we offer, you guarantee to find strength and security and affordability for the latest technology. You can count on Caribbean Metals. Got you covered. Caribbean Metals, better value for your money. Caribbean Metals, satisfaction guaranteed. Caribbean Metals, you know we've got you covered. Guaranteed.
Island style, yeah. We got the time to make you go. We got the time to make you say, yeah. We'll have to make the right choice. Island style, whoa. We got the time that will make you happy. Island style, oh yeah. We make your dream come alive in Island style.
We have tiles and insets, pieces and ground. Everything you need to sort the house out. For the best price and the latest style. Take a little drive down to Island Style Car.
We got the time to make you go. We got the time to make you say, quality, price, service, choice. It's all an Island Style.
Visit us at our showrooms in Belarus, Rodney Bay, on the John Compton Highway, Cass Street, and behind Ruby's Gas Station on the Library Viewfort Highway. So call us on 450-452 or 453-TILE. Island Style Tile and Bath. When you think tile, think Island Style.
Introducing the Cash in Time Loan from Janu Credit Union. No hassle, no long wait. Only 1% monthly interest on the reducing balance. Apply, top up, and keep moving. It's that easy. Call us today and find out how you can qualify. Terms and conditions apply. 452-4807 or email apply@cscreditunion.org.
Plug into Digicel Plus Home Fiber Internet and get even more entertainment with Disney Plus included. Stream the best of Disney, Pixar, Marvel, Star Wars, and National Geographic all in one place. Whenever you want, plug into Digicel Plus. Enjoy Disney Plus and much more with a home fiber bundle starting as low as $136 per month. Enjoy lightning fast speed starting at 250 megabytes all the way up to 1 gig. Sign up for Digicel Plus package at a Digicel store or call 106 for more information.
Blasting your favorite jams. RCI, the Caribbean Sound. 101, number 1.